The Milky Way is a galaxy that contains not only our humble solar system, but hundreds of billions of other stars, planets, and nebulae. Here to tell us what's at the center of it all is astronomer and author Dr. Donald Goldsmith. So we're looking at that image right now. When people see pictures of the Milky Way, or what we think it looks like, it's sort of like a spiral thing. So what is it at the center of that spiral?
We're now pretty sure that right at the center of that spiral is what we call a supermassive black hole, an object that's got about 3 million times the mass of our sun, but it's all compacted into a very small volume, and you can fall in, but you'll never get out. That's why we call it black.
When you say very small volume, give me some sort of an idea of how small it is. I imagine it's actually pretty huge relative to like the size of my head.
Yeah, it is bigger than your head, we think. The news is that we found a star that's so close to the center of the galaxy, it takes only 15 years to go around once, and that establishes that the object, whatever it is at the center of the galaxy, is no bigger than a few times the size of our solar system. Let's say the orbit of the planet Pluto. Now, that's pretty big in human terms, but it's tiny in galactic terms. And all theories point to the fact that you can't have an object that small without it collapsing into becoming a black hole. Now, that would be even smaller, but I'm just saying, as an honest observational fact, we can limit it to about 1,000 times the size from the distance from the Earth to the Sun.
So, we hear the term black hole all the time, especially in science fiction, but what, in layman's terms, is a black hole?
A black hole is anything that you squeeze tight enough that its gravitational force near its surface becomes so big that nothing can get away, and nothing includes light or radio or any other kinds of radiation.
So and that's why it's called black, because it's actually the absence of everything. Where does it all go when it all gets sucked in there?
Well, you might think it goes somewhere, but it just kind of sits there. It's like a little pocket of space folded on itself.
Just more and more compact.
It's a perfect garbage disposal. It would be a great place to put nuclear waste, for instance.
Some people, especially again in science fiction, they theorize that these black holes can whisk us away to other time spaces. Is there any scientific evidence of that, or is that just hooey?
There's no evidence, but perhaps we shouldn't call it hooey. Let's say it's amazingly speculative.
Mm-hmm. Well, is it not speculative that these things exist at all? Because you just said that we can't see the black hole, so how do we know that it's actually there?
It is a question of deduction. When I was a young man, a long time ago, black holes were just a theoretical object. But now we find these regions, in particular this one near our galactic center, where it's clear there's a huge amount of mass concentrated in a very small volume. And our theory tells us it couldn't be anything else but a black hole. Our theory could be wrong, though, because we'll never observe it directly if it is a black hole, only indirectly.
Couldn't it just be a cluster, a massive cluster of dark stars and not one unit that is this hole?
Well, picture putting 3 million stars in a very small volume, which I say we can kind of establish. All our theory says they wouldn't remain a cluster of stars for more than a few hundred years. They'd quickly all gravitate together and squish themselves into a black hole. I'll say it once more, that's only our theories, and therefore my conclusion is only as good as our theories.
And we say that this one is a supermassive black hole. Do black holes have to be supermassive, or are there super tiny black holes?
Those are called mini black holes, we call them.
Yeah? How big is a mini black hole?
A mini black hole is something much smaller than an atomic particle. It was made early in the universe and has a mass maybe that, much less than you can possibly imagine, really. But they could have been made in huge numbers all during the early universe. But the major black hole, the neither mini nor the super, is a black hole with something like the sun's mass. When a star collapses, it might just form a black hole, which would be about the same mass as the sun, but much smaller.
If I was floating around somewhere in the galaxy, could I get sucked into a mini black hole, or are they just not strong enough to do anything to me?
Well, we like to say pulled into. We don't
pulled
say
into
sucked with gravitation.
I'm so
it's a little thing we scientists have.
Even when we're talking about science,
Yeah. The answer is no. Theoretically, black holes pull you by gravitation. You might end up, if you're not careful, into one, but much more likely you get into orbit around one. Just as we orbit around the center of the Milky Way, it's got a huge gravitational force at its center, but we go around it. We don't fall into the sun, we go around it.
When I was a kid, I was scared of black holes.
And well, you might be.
And is there any chance, let's scare all the kids that are watching out there, is there any chance that someday this planet Earth is going to get pulled into a black hole?
Well done. There's a tiny chance. There are much more likely things to happen, like just an ordinary asteroid will hit us and end all life as we know it. But it could happen. There are these black holes roaming around the galaxy we certainly haven't found. And if one came very close to us, we'd be pulled into it.
Wait a minute, we might get hit by an asteroid?
You've heard about that?
Yeah.
The dinosaurs all got wiped out when that happened?
When's that going to happen?
Sometime. We're not sure when.
Well, crunch the numbers, man. I got stuff I got to get done if it's going to happen soon.
So true.
So, it's the holiday season, and of course, one of the great stories of the holiday season is the three wise men, and they see the Star of Bethlehem, and this, of course, leads them to the little baby Jesus sitting in swaddling clothing in a manger. Is there any astronomical basis for the Star of Bethlehem?
Well, in some sense there is, because the Star of Bethlehem, it's been suggested, might have been an exploding star supernova, which would appear as a new star and fade away over a few weeks' time. That would be right. It could have been a comet, which sort of looks like a star if it has a very weak tail. Or it could have been a close meeting or conjunction of planets. There was one of those we can calculate in the year 6 BC, which supposedly when Jesus was born. But the trouble with all these explanations is nobody else noted it down. There were, other writers who were writing about volcanoes and strange things in the sky, and it's odd that they wouldn't have noted it. And what's still worse is, the Bible story says it was in the east. You followed it. But, as the earth turns, all the stars go up and over. And so it's not at all clear how you would follow a star. It doesn't make too much sense that way.
Well, maybe it was a miracle, Dr. Goldsmith.
That's easier, right. Of course, you can skip the star and just get them there miraculously, but, hey, it makes a good story.
Hey, well, happy holidays to you. It's always a pleasure to have you come in, man.
Nice to be here.
And if you guys want to learn more about the mysteries of the cosmos, you can pick up Dr. Goldsmith's book. It's called Connecting with the Cosmos. And Dr. Goldsmith also has an article with more information about the center of the galaxy. Might scare you at thescreensavers.com.